please welcome the vacation panel of Beverly D'Angelo and Christy Brinkley. Give it up. There you go. Hi. Grab a seat. There's microphones. The switches are on the bottom. You got it?
Holiday Road.
It is so wonderful to have you guys together here.
I know, we're together. We're Chevy's bitches.
So before we get to the questions, when did you know you guys were making a classic comedy? When you first read the script?
We were just talking about that. When did you, we've never talked about this. When you got the script, what did you think?
I loved it. I couldn't believe that they just said, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "Of course, yes." I had the best time doing this movie because I was the weather day girl, which means that my scenes were the scenes indoors. There weren't a lot of indoor scenes, which is one of the things I love about the movie, right? And so I had to wait till it rained. And it was so sunny. I got to stay with the whole cast for 6 weeks to do my little part. It was great.
What do you mean? What do you mean you were the weather girl and you?
They said they were waiting for it to rain because we did that scene indoors in the bar.
Your bar scene, but your other stuff was outside. You were driving the car.
The other stuff was outside, but I had
dancing by the car.
But thanks to the bar scene, I got to be there for like so much more of the movie.
It was a road movie, and we were all together for the whole thing. My husband at the time came with me, and he was the one who got me to do it.
Lorenzo,
who's my dear friend, and he's in Christie's scene. He's playing the piano in that scene with the thing. But it was really like a family road trip, because we were all together for everything.
Staying in motels and log cabins.
Horrible motels. We really lived it.
And I would go horseback riding while they worked and whitewater rafting. It was so fun. If the producers knew I was whitewater rafting.
How long did the filming take? How many weeks was the filming? Was it 6 weeks?
It was longer than that.
Yeah.
Because we had stuff that we shot in. Everything was on location except for when we drove through Detroit, and all the home stuff, the house and the finale, and the Wally World was actually in Valencia. It was. Oh gosh, somebody might know this. I don't. Why am I blanking on it? Oh, what? Who said that? Magic Mountain.
Magic
Thank
Mountain.
you. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. So it was very much a road trip, except for, our family stuff.
What was the premiere like? Such a crazy.
I didn't go. I was living in Italy. I was married to an Italian duke, and he's the one who told me to do it, because when I read it, I thought, wait a minute, I've just turned 30. I'm supposed to play the parents of teenagers, and I had just done these films. Like I did Coal Miner's Daughter and got a lot of attention for it. I starred in a musical film of Hair, and I wanted to be a singer, so I didn't even know if I was going to do this acting stuff, but I knew there was this rule in vaudeville: never work with kids or animals. And so there was a dog that we killed, and 2 teenagers, and because when you really and by the way, anyway, so my husband said, "But Beverly, look at this cousin Eddie, he is hilarious. We do it." So thank you, Lorenzo, for everything for that. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. I'm sorry.
I want to ask you if I could sidetrack a bit about the singing. The Lurleen Lumpkin stuff. Was there ever a proposed album to come out? The songs are so good.
Well, Lurleen, I know. Lurleen Lumpkin, the singing waitress from Spittle County, who's on The Simpsons, which was really ironic because I started out in animation, then I ended up playing a cartoon character 1,000 years later. I think Finally Bagged Me a Homer is on an album from Springfield or something like that. And we also did, at the Hollywood Bowl, we did a whole big show, all singing and all dancing at the Hollywood Bowl, and that was fun too. But no, the singing thing nobody wanted me to sing, except in the movies,
I signed quite a few National Lampoon's Vacation albums today, which I'd never seen. I didn't even know
signed
they
one
existed.
of them. Yeah, a guy brought in a cover of, and he had vinyl. He had a vinyl one. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know. I never knew there was one. Interesting.
And I don't know if there was a premiere because I didn't go.
I didn't go either. I remember I went to like I went to some kind of test screening in Texas or something.
Oh, okay. I went to like I went down to the studio. They had like a very small little screening room. And I watched it in there with a very nice, like a couple press people, a very nice, I remember.
Well, no, I know they didn't show it to the press.
Well, there was a nice guy who did write a column. He must have been like a friend
that
of
wouldn't have been a
somebody.
critic, because they did something with this movie. First of all, it was R-rated, and it was satirical. But what happened was, I was in Italy, I got a phone call from my friend, and he said, "You're in the #1 movie." And I went, "What?" And he said, yeah. And then my agent called like clockwork. And I think what happened is that instead of looking at the Griswolds and going, "Ha ha ha, aren't they funny?" we all watched the movie and went, "Oh, aren't we funny?" Like everybody identified with it. And so there's a character, per person. You can identify with Clark and that's really why we're here, because Chevy has just inserted himself into our culture. He's a brilliant, brilliant man and such a funny guy, and really the through line. But so there's Clark, who's just trying so hard to do everything for his family. There's Ellen, they always said long suffering. I think she was just into it. My backstory, I don't know what your backstory was, but my backstory, because as an actress I always like to go obsessive and decide who, what, where, and all that kind of stuff. And I decided that Ellen had met Clark in college, that she was that he was her first and only, and that when she took those vows, she really meant them. And so when she sees him with Christy, originally that scene where he comes back into the hotel, and as written, I was supposed to pick up those white shoes and throw them at him. And I was supposed to scream at him, "Is that what you want? Do you love her? And I'll show you what fun is." And I said to Harold, "Well, now hang on a minute." And by the way, now I'm thinking about that, that would have been cooler. But anyway, here's what I did, and I'll tell you why. I looked at it and I thought, now hang on a second, because I had modeled the character on my mom. Long-term marriage, grew up witnessing a fantastic love affair between my parents. And I thought, now hold on a minute. They're on the road in the middle of nowhere. Everything's going wrong. Aunt Edna has died. I mean, it's just one bad thing after another. But there's one thing that's true. She loves her husband. Yes. And she loves her family. So I said, look at what this Ellen's really saying. I want to mean it. Do you love her? Is that what you want? And I wanted that moment. I wanted a moment to really show what love was, because I see the through line of all of the vacation movies as a love story, and that love conquers all. So I chose to play it that way. Plus, I have idolized Christy from the minute I saw her. When you were a model in the beginning, I looked at those photos and thought, oh my God, this is the most beautiful person in the world. And then we met, and I was just charmed, as she's charmed the entire world.
No, but you
and
guys,
I couldn't get mad at him.
You guys,
I couldn't blame him.
When I arrived on the set my first day, I was so nervous, like I had never done a movie before, or
it was her billing was introducing Christy,
and we were in like this weird motel someplace out west,
and it was a dangerous pool.
And I got to my my motel room, and I went in and I sat down, and I was like, "Well, I'm hungry, but do I go eat all alone in a restaurant, or what do I do?" And all of a sudden, my phone rings. And it's Beverly. And she called me, like the star of the movie called me, little old nothing, in my room.
Well, I saw it the opposite way.
And said, hey, I just want you to know, I'm in the room nearby, and if you have any questions, or I'm here for you.
I can't believe I'm so nice.
And and we're all going to go down and eat, and why don't you join us? And I was like, a friend.
But it was that vibe, and also, that was a first time thing. And as I said, it was imagined as a satire, and it was R-rated. So it was only this discovery that all the parents were taking their kids that it started to dawn on everybody. Wait a minute, this is really we're making a family film here. So they were PG from that moment on. But I just want to correct something. If you thought you were little old me, I was sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's Christy Brinkley. And then I did think, I wonder if she's okay. But also my husband was going, call Christy. She's fantastic, call Christy. So.
So before we get to the questions from the audience, have either of you actually sat in a full audience theater and watched the crowds actually just...
I haven't.
That's a really great question.
I haven't.
I have not.
But we probably should. Because I've learned, I have a film out now called Violent Night.
Yes.
And yes, you guys, I want to, everybody who's seen it and everybody who's I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because that little movie opened on December 2nd at .1 against Wakanda Black Panther, which had a budget of $250 million. Our film had a budget of $20 million, and it's just taken off. And so I really want to thank everybody who's gone, and I want to encourage everybody to go. But go, here's the point, go with an audience, because it's the kind of thing where, and this is why I think we should see Vacation with an audience, because there's something about when you're alone and you watch a movie, it's a different thing and different things emerge. But when you're with a crowd, you just might laugh at things that you really wouldn't. That you're not supposed to. And so I think that going back to you saying the screening, they didn't show this, and it's kind of unusual to do this in Hollywood. They did not have a press screening. They did not want the critics to see this before it came out, because they felt the people are going to like it, because they did have little test screenings, but they didn't want to get into the area of the critics saying, oh, this is, low ball and a road movie and what the heck, and all, because they didn't know what was going to happen. Really, even the powers that be didn't know. Of course, everybody will say, I knew it. I planned it. That's exactly, we all knew. But that wasn't the case, and they didn't want critics to see it because they were worried that it would be, it was a National Lampoon movie. Animal House had done well, the previous National Lampoon movie, but the critics didn't like it. But then the movie came out, and we got great reviews too. And a lot of it has to do with Christy, I have to tell you, because I was certainly not a star. I think I might have had star billing, but it was Chevy above the title. But in that first vacation, it was all about and introducing Christy Brinkley, and that's what got everybody in there.
How did they approach you about getting into the film, Christy?
I just got a call. Yeah, I got a call. And they said, I actually, I said I didn't audition, but I did run into the studio to just meet with some people. And I thought they were going to give me a script and say, read a scene or whatever. But we just talked, and then they said, great, well, we'd love to have you. And I was like, really? Well, I would love to do it, and so I did it.
Well, let's get some questions from you guys. Let's start right down. You're cool with that, right? We're good with questions?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, Christy and Beverly. Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. So my two-part question for both of you is, what were your favorite scenes to shoot on the National Lampoon movies, particularly Christmas Vacation? And my second question, Beverly, what can you tell us about your experience on doing Violent Night, another Christmas movie this year?
Okay, I'll make them really fast. Yes, Christmas movies. Number one, my favorite scene in Christmas Vacation, there were a couple of things that are behind the scene things and that tickled me. The squirrel died. They had a squirrel.
In real life?
Yeah. They had a squirrel who was trained, and it was an amazing squirrel because that's a whole industry. Animal trainers for, trained animals for movies. And so they had this squirrel that could practically do everything but talk, and he had a heart attack or something weird happened. So they said, no problem, we'll bring the squirrel to shoot tomorrow, because they kept bringing the squirrel and saying, look, they were training him to climb up a tree and jump on Chevy's shoulder. So they brought a basically untrained squirrel.
Oh, no.
And that took forever. And we finally, I just remember kind of like standing there, and I remember some conversation, and I just heard there was like the stuffed one, the fake one, the stuffed one. And the next thing you know, they attached a fake squirrel to Chevy's shoulder. So that if you notice it, when you watch it again, when he runs up and down the stairs and everything, that's a fake stuffed squirrel, because we didn't have the squirrel. Sadly, that squirrel had died. Also, the exploding turkey scene, the turkey dinner, Randy Quaid cracked everybody up, because when Mae Questel is supposed to say the grace, she started saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're all sitting there, and Randy stands up and goes like this, and I just couldn't keep a straight face. I just thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Violent Night, it's not called Violent middle of the day when the sun's out. We shot in Winnipeg. The average at night, all the exteriors were at night and were real. That wasn't fake smoke coming out of our mouths. We were freezing to death. We had warming tents even for us and for the camera. It was so cold you had to get picked up in your trailer and driven 50 feet to just the sound stage, and we wore jackets on that. We're all freezing, but a great cast, great camaraderie like we had on the first vacation. Brilliant director. Tommy Wirkola has a background in like horror movies, and that film, for those of you that have seen it, it's got a heartbeat, it's got tons of action, it's funny, it's like a mishmash. You can't really define it as something, but it's not that I had a favorite scene in it. It was the whole experience that was great because of the actors, because that's what's in it for me. That's what I'm in it, because these are I kind of took time off to raise my kids and didn't do a lot of films. So the films that I'm doing now and the series that I'm doing now that's going to start coming out, series comes out in the spring, another film comes out in the summer. I made another film with Tony Kaye, who did American History X. Anyway, for me, it's all about the moment and the people that I meet, and Violent Night was a real actor's set. So we were all like improvising and doing fantastic stuff. Thanks for asking about it.
How long was the filming on Violent Night? How long was that?
2 months.
2 months.
Which is long for these days. When we did Vacation, the first Vacation, it was standard to have a 3-month shooting schedule because they didn't use digital film. So when you had to set up a shot, and I'm sure you remember, there was lots of lighting that was necessary, and it took a long time. So you'd go to the set, they would block it. It's called blocking. Then you'd go off and wait in your trailer, and you could wait hours. And so it took much longer, but with digital film, you just turn it on and go. So the schedules are faster now.
I have a question right down here.
Happy holidays to both of you.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. My question is, Beverly, I read that you used to take Frank Zappa to the set with you, and I was kind of curious about what that was all about.
Frank and his wife Gail and their entire family I was very, very close with them. I considered them my family. And when I was
Brown shoes. Don't make it.
And when he's a brilliant composer. And when I did European Vacation, we got Moon Zappa to play the American girl in that scene in Piazza Navona. And Moon was still a minor. We put Dweezil in it on a bicycle. But Frank was touring Europe at the time. I was living in Rome, but I met Gail. And then a couple months later, when I was in LA, I went to a function at the Italian embassy, and there was Frank. And Frank was someone who influenced me and was very important to me in my younger life. Again, I was on the trajectory of, being a musician. And it was just like Old Homework. It was like they were very much a family. both Frank and Gail have passed on now, and they were like a family to me. So when I was doing Christmas Vacation, of course, it was just a matter of time before Frank and Gail came and visited the set. Frank had done Saturday Night Live after Chevy left, but Frank had the singular, singular prize, I guess, of being told he'd never do it again, because when it came time for his song, when he was appearing, he did something. The song that he sang was Incendiary or something like that, but he was a brilliant musician. I was actually with him. It was more of a to say when he died, and that's how close I was to the Zappas. And so it was a wonderful thing. It was great to see Chevy and Frank hit it off, because of course they did. I talk too much. I'm sorry.
We're good. We have a question right
And you
down.
have such a beautiful voice.
There you go.
Not
It's
anymore.
like
It's low.
velvet.
I sound like a man.
It's like velvet.
No, I do. I'm a man.
We got a question right over here.
All right. Merry Christmas, you guys. I love you both. Okay, so my question for Beverly is, how was it like working on the Coal Miner's Daughter set?
The best. That was an early film that I did, and I now you're going to ask me to sing, and I can't anymore. But anyway, I started out as a singer, singing with this guy named Ronnie Hawkins, who had brought rock and roll to Canada, and he was one of the original rockabillys. He was on Sun with Elvis and Jerry Lee Lewis, went up to Toronto for a job, stayed there. It was like the promised land to him. So I knew who Patsy Cline was, but not a lot of people did. Singers knew that she was a great singer. And that was in the early 70s. That was like 71 to 73. Now, it's time for, the casting director called me in for Coal Miner's Daughter. Patsy Cline was a tall woman, a big woman, and from Virginia, and not me. And so my screen test for Coal Miner's Daughter was actually not a screen test at all, but they took a Patsy Cline recording, and they lifted her voice off of it, and I sang along with it, and they sent that to the producer, because her original producer, Owen Bradley, produced the soundtrack, and Owen produced Patsy and Loretta and knew everything. I don't know if he's in here, but I met someone today who's Patsy's nephew. I guess he's not in here. Anyway, it was fantastic because I was familiar and I was very much in my singer mode. That was a real kind of my self-identity. And the director of that movie, this was his first film. His background was as a documentary filmmaker. So what he did was he created this environment for us that felt very natural and just true. So yes, we were all acting, we had a script and stuff like that, but it was an atmosphere of naturalness, and everybody in Nashville was so excited that they were making this movie about Loretta that they would all come. So Willie Nelson would come, and certainly all the Outlaws would come, and Tammy Wynette, they would all come and visit the set. So it was a wonderful, again, a family kind of thing. It was great. And Nashville's great. I told you I talk too much. You got to be careful of what questions you ask.
It's good. Question right down here.
All right, my question is for Beverly. I was wondering if you could share any funny stories with the late John Candy, how it was working with him, because...
Okay, funny story was we were in... This is my girl here, so let's not leave her out. I want to include you. We were in Los Angeles for the reshoot because he wasn't in the original ending. So, and I had a friend who was a drummer in Toto, and he knew who John Candy was from this show called SCTV, and he wanted to meet him. So we shot. John was on that movie for a few times for the second ending, and so we were on the set, and I said, "Oh, I want you to meet Jeff Porcaro. He was dying to meet you. Where are you staying?" He was at the Universal Hotel. So he said, "There's a great sushi." Everybody was eating sushi in LA in the 80s. Remember that? Before we found out there was mercury in it. So anyway, I said, "There's this great sushi bar. It's really close to you." So Jeff and I go to the sushi bar that was close to the hotel John was staying in, and John comes in and he says, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. I was working out." Now and Jeff and I were like, "Yeah, great, good for you." And then he sits down and just says, what would you like? Because again, there was like, everybody was crazy about sushi. Like, I'll have the Toro. Like, everyone knew the Japanese words. And he said, I want a double shot of whiskey, which I thought was hilarious because that was like his, after the workout, I don't know if that relates to the movie, but yes, a funny story. That made me laugh. That really made me laugh.
We're going to go.
It's not funny.
All the way over to this side real quick for a question here.
Hi. Quickly, Beverly, you were great in Hair, great movie. My question's actually for Christy. I watched a 30 for 30 where you were actually a boxing photographer for like Roberta Duran and Don King. I was wondering, how did you do that since, you were the model and now you're taking the photographs? So you talk about that.
Yeah, well, I became a boxing photographer, kind of all by, I don't know, it happened because Muhammad Ali was about to do his last fight. He hadn't fought for a while. He was coming back.
The Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the Rumble in the Jungle. It was in Las Vegas.
Okay.
And every guy I knew was talking about this fight. And I mean, it was really the topic of conversation. And I'm sitting in the Plaza Hotel having lunch, and all of a sudden I see Muhammad Ali walking down the street. And I was like, I can't believe it. There's Muhammad Ali. I've got to go say hi. And he was with Mike McCormick, who was a big agent in New York City, who had been trying to get me to come to his agency. And so I stood up and I ran out to the steps of the Plaza Hotel, and I was just so stunned. Like, I love Muhammad Ali. That guy's and so I said, oh my gosh, I have been looking for tickets for your fight. And like forever. And he goes, and I've been looking for a girl like you forever. and Mike McCormick said, me too, for my agency. He said, and I can get you tickets. And I said, okay, but like, I would really love to be on the apron so I could get some good shots. And so I got like in the front row. And then when I was there, when he lost, we were devastated. We went out in front, we were sitting on the lawn, like wiping away a tear, when suddenly I see Don King. And everybody's going into this door. And so I followed Don King over. And as the door's about to close, I went to the door and I went, oh, hi, like this. And I got right through security. And anyway, long story short, I met Randy Gordon of Ring Magazine there. We got to talking, and he said that Marvelous Marvis Frazier was having a fight at the Garden, and would I be the ring photographer? So I went, and I was like the first female to ever go into the dressing rooms in Madison Square Garden after the fight and photograph the guys. And I just got into it, and one thing led to the other, and I covered all the best fights. No Mas, and at the Super Bowl, I shot them all.
I've seen that happen with friends that I've had who started as models. Was that like a natural transition to start taking photographs because you'd been photographed by the best photographers in the world?
I think you keep hearing the settings, and like. You get to go to these beautiful places. You always have a camera. You're always taking pictures. I've always taken a million pictures. And I really loved the authenticity of the ambiance of a fight. Like, I'm a real pacifist, but there was something so real and raw about the whole thing that it was.
I know. I think boxing is like, if the stand-up comedian is the core of show business, where somebody's just out there on his own, on a tightrope with that live audience. It's not even stage. It's like, I think boxing is like that to sports. It just all comes down to them.
To heart.
Yeah.
Like, if you can stick with it. Yeah.
I can't watch it's the lighter weights that drive me crazy, because it's like a war of attrition, and it goes on. It used to go on to 15 rounds, but but those heavyweight things where they're knockouts in the second round. But congratulations on that. Don't you have a book of your photography?
I know, but I was.
Well, you should.
I have had. I have had some of my sports pictures published in Photo and Ampersand and
Fantastic.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Let's get a question down front on
And
this
Sports
side.
Illustrated, I must add.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
here.
that's a full circle because you were on the cover of Sports Illustrated about 15,299 times, I think. So it's good that you turned the lens and said, well, wait, look at what I shot.
Yeah.
That's good.
Here you go.
Hello. I'm sure like lots of people here, vacation has become like a staple in my family. Like, we go on vacation, we'll be like, this is like something out of National Lampoon. I wanted to know if you guys have any stories from your vacations that are anything like that.
I related to it because my family did have a station wagon. It was red, and I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I remember, yay, this Buckeye. They just celebrated I'm not going to forget your question. This year was the centennial of the Horseshoe Stadium in Columbus that my grandfather designed. It's very nice. Okay, my vacation. So we had a red station wagon, and my mother had arranged some trip to Dearborn, Michigan, where we were supposed to stay in cabins, and I wanted to take my hamster. And we got to this place, and it was like that. Remember in the first vacation where they go to that place and there's like ducks in the swimming pool, and Murray, not Bill, Brian Murray is on the desk. It was like one of those places, and I just remember, this flurry of like, we can't stay here, Gene. And I carried that hamster around, and finally the place that we were driving around Dearborn in the middle of nowhere trying to find a place to stay that will take a hamster. And my parents said, Bev, we've driven a long way. We're going to be here for 2 weeks. We can't take the hamster. And I said, okay, and I put it in my pocket when we checked in, and then my parents were very nice. They said they wouldn't tell.
All right, got a question
But
right.
wait, maybe Christy, you must have a family vacation.
Yeah.
You've got kids. You must have a family
Yeah.
vacation.
I mean, and I do love a good road trip too, But we've done sort of vacation type things once we were going on a ski trip, and I got all the skis out and leaned them against the wall and loaded all the stuff, and then was halfway there and I realized I forgot the skis. So, we've done things like that. But also, I'm always interested if there's a big ball of twine on the road.
We did that.
And, some other thing like that. And I actually, those roadside monuments and all of that, I thought of vacation when I became the voice of the big duck of Long Island. So when people take a drive to see the big duck, there's a voice of the duck, and it's me. I'm doing it kind of like a Mae West, because it's a sassy little duck,
Take a question right down front.
Great to meet you again. The question is, when you did the swimming pool scene, Christy?
Yes.
I read something about there was so much steam they had to do different things to make the water right and everything for you.
Actually, that was when it's funny because the movie Vacation keeps popping up in my life. So I've done vacation style TV commercials too. And one of them was a TV commercial. Sigourney Weaver did one of them, and she was in the robot thing. So they take an iconic scene from the movie, and then you actually turn and say the lines, which were very complicated because it was computer speak, like something like, oh, you only get 25 gigabytes per 17 gigs of whatever, right? And so I'm doing the pool scene in this commercial, and so first they try and match you to look like you looked, 10 years, 15 years
That is one
earlier.
contract I didn't sign. I forgot to sign the contract that said I will look, sound, and be exactly the same for the next 40 years. But please continue.
So anyway, we have a guy who's simulating Chevy's legs, on the edge of the pool.
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Yes, exactly. And I'm in the pool, and it's the coldest night. We're doing this in LA. It is the coldest night on record
In the movie
in LA.
or in the movie or in the commercial?
No, in the commercial.
All right.
In the remake, and it is so cold that you can't see me through the fog coming off the pool. So I have to wait in the bath in the motel room that we were doing it in while they put chunks of ice in the pool, huge chunks of ice, to bring the pool temperature down to match the freezing cold temperature outside so it could stop and then I'd have to leave my warm bath and go out to the pool, and I was like basically in just this little bandeau, nothing,
The vacation
bodysuit, like nothing, in the cold, walking into this pool, and then I would be so cold, I was frozen. My mouth, I couldn't even talk. I was like this. Get your gigabytes,
in the
megabytes computer speak
is a commercial.
thing. Like.
Don't you love show business? But I think, wasn't the water warm in the movie?
Well, the hang up in the movie was that they really wanted me to really strip down and really just be naked.
And she said no. I remember that.
And I said,
because they were all going, she won't take her bra
yeah.
off.
And I said,
She won't take her bra off. And I'm like,
no.
good. I
said,
will.
No. I said, I think people's imagination of what's under my bikini is probably better than what's under it. So
Not me. I always look better naked than in clothes. Back in the day.
So they kept trying to convince me, and I kept demurring. And this went on until the wee hours of the morning. Everybody making phone calls, and I thought she was going to be naked, and I thought she, and I was like,
I took the blow. I said, I'll do it. You want nudity? I'm your girl. I had your back.
and front.
And let's kick a question way on that side of the room. Let's even it out.
Welcome, ladies. Happy Christmas. Christy Brinkley question. I had a calendar of you in my locker in high school.
All right.
Beverly, I'm sorry I did not have a calendar of you.
I know. I told you. I always look better undressed.
Love the movie, but no calendar. I wanted to ask you about the Downeaster Alexa.
Yes.
And how that portion of your life affected you with Billy Joel.
About the Downeaster Alexa specifically? Well, our daughter's name is Alexa, and Billy and I really love boats. I love sailboats, and he loved motorboats. So we decided that we had to build our own boat that would have the best of both worlds, So Billy's like, yeah, we need to have like an engine, so that like we can get where we want to go, but we can have it look like a sailboat, but we, have to have the speed. So we came up with this thing, and there's a boat called a Downeast hull, which has like a bow that looks sailboat-like, and but so we used something like that, and Down East boats, and when you're in like Maine or Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket, they always name their boats girls' names after the wife or the daughter. So when we built this boat, Billy was like, it's got to be the Alexa. And then Billy was very involved with the Baymen on Long Island and their plight because, so he wanted to write this song that sort of spoke about the Baymen's lives in Long Island, and so Down East was now attached. The boat is actually the Alexa, but the song is the Down East Alexa.
You know what? I want to jump in because I just now remembered something. Christy, it was before the movie came out, but Christy came to Los Angeles. I have a photo of you and I. I should put it on the table. I have a gorgeous photo of you and I. I'm going to put it on the table when we're done with this. You got to see it. You'll love it. But Christy was in Los Angeles and I was there, and I think we met at a party. I think that's where the picture's from. Photograph. And I remember talking to you on the phone, and I said, "How are you?" Because Olivier was gone. Her boyfriend, she brought her boyfriend on their first vacation too, and we lost him. But anyway, so now it's not much longer. I said, "How are you?" And I remember you saying that you had just come back from the Bahamas or Jamaica or something, and you said, and I met somebody really wonderful, because it was about her loss. But you were in town testing for Splash.
Yes.
Right? Yes. But that's when you met your husband-to-be, right?
Yes. Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
I thought you finished your question, and I wanted to jump in.
That's very interesting. Yes. Yeah.
We got time for 2 more. Is that okay? 2 more questions. You guys are going to head back to your tables. You got photo ops, all that good
yeah,
stuff.
I'll give you some of that photo, and I'll take some because I brought them.
Yes, I would
Bob
love
printed them. Yeah,
that.
they're great.
Okay, let's get 2 more questions.
You'll see us in 1983 together.
And I'm going to send you some of my Bellissima Prosecco wines. And did you all know I have an amazing line?
I told her she should have a QR
wines and
code on the
Prosecco.
table
Wouldn't
because
that be
I want
smart?
some.
It's so good, and I make a classic wine, classic Prosecco, but I also make some of mine, which are my personal favorites, that are 0 sugar, 0 carb, and all the buzz and, good mood that comes
the
along
calories.
with it. And, so, yeah.
I want some of that.
Yeah, she said
It's
to
called
me,
Bellissimo.
yeah, she said you
And
have to have
I think she should have a QR code, or you should have brought some for all of us.
Yes.
Question down the middle.
Under your seat, everybody. There's a bottle of
Question right down here.
I have one for each of you. Christy, I wanted to ask you if you have any memories of the great Harold Ramis. And
Oh,
Beverly,
yes.
I just wanted to ask you, how about a quick memory about Gilbert Gottfried from the podcast?
Oh, yeah. So many people are gone that were so important in my life. Gilbert was the sweetest, most wonderful family man. Wife was all involved with that podcast that we did. And Frank Santo Pietra, it was the kind of the brains behind the organization. But that was a sweet, lovely, funny, very endearing, and we all worshipped him. We just loved him.
And Harold was the sweetest guy. He had his daughter Violet come
Just
out
wrote a book.
for the. She did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Violet
wow.
wrote a book, and it refers. I think it starts on that because Violet, Harold Ramis's daughter, was when we meet cousin Eddie, and he introduces his 5,000 kids. He says, and this is I forget what her character's name is. I'm blanking on it. He says, and this is. I don't think she was called Violet. He says, he goes, born without a tongue, Clark. Born without a tongue. Yeah.
But he was wonderful. And, as I say, we were really loving being out in the Wild West. Like, I love the Wild West. And so if there was a rodeo in the town, we were there. Do you remember the rodeo nights? Did you go to any of those?
No, I was working.
Oh.
I was stuck with it.
Yeah, I really had so much fun out there, not working, waiting to work.
No, it was great because we all got to stay together, and I think that just having you there and having such a wonderful time, it really kind of lifted any other snafus. There was always like the smiling, wonderful, positive Christy Brinkley right there.
But Harold was great. It's so sweet, lovely. Violet, great dad. I would say to him, like, I'd try and be serious about my role because it was building up to like my talking scenes, or, were few and far between. So when I was waiting to do it, I'd say, so what, like, how do I do it? Just be yourself. Just be yourself. And then I think, how am I going to be myself but be so pushy with this guy? Like I wasn't,
I didn't think you were pushy.
Well,
I thought it
she's
was
like-
him.
Yeah.
I thought you were just fabulous. And he was like any red-blooded man who would take a look and go, you were great, Christy. You were great.
Okay. We got time for one last question, but thank you so much for coming out and doing this. It's such a pleasure to have both of you on stage. We got our last question.
The cars of vacation are like iconic. Do y'all get to drive them on your own, like after hours? Take the car there and go driving.
I got to have driving lessons in my Ferrari because there's a thing called heel toe, I remember, where you have to like, when you really want to go into that final gear, you have to like really sort of get that clutch in just so, and then not so you don't lose any speed. And so I went out to Warner Brothers Studio, and there's like a hill there with some roads on it, and they said, all right, let's go. And what's his name? Franken. He was one of the writers.
stuntman?
No, he was one
Al
of
Franken?
Al Franken. He was at the studio that day, so he came out in my Ferrari with me for my lessons too. And he was like really spurring me on, like, come on, step on it. Let's get to that last gear, But so I got to have those Ferrari driving lessons, which was fun.
There were three different, there were three plus four. There was one that was squished, but we had three different station wagons. One of them was the one that, you actually see that comes out of the garage. Then we had one that had permanently mounted cameras on it for shooting into the thing. And then we had one that did something else. And then we had one that squished. But there's one here. And we're going to do photo ops with the station wagon. It's right back there.
It's right back there.
Yeah. There it is.
Did any of you see the Did you see Beverly the Goldbergs when they did a remake of?
I didn't.
Vacation.
I didn't.
It was the funniest.
They didn't ask me to be in it. Were you in it?
I was in it.
Well, congratulations.
But none of you saw it. No, but it was really funny because it reminded me of it because of the car. Now it's like all these years later, I'm back in my little white dress, reprising the role, and I'm playing George Siegel's girlfriend in it because he's the grandfather in the Goldbergs. And so the two of us go to get into the car, and the two of us are like, oh, it's so low. Okay. Okay. I'm in the seat. He's like, I'm not in there yet. Okay, I'm in it. How are we going to get out of this thing now? It's very low to the ground.
Well, thank you so much again for coming out. Give it up.
Thank you.
Christy Brinkley.
Thank you.
Beverly D'Angelo. There's the car. There's the gals. Give it up.
Thank you.
You can do a lot better than that. Don't have to coax you. Let's hear it.
Hi, this is Aaron Ashmore, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe like now. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.